Hello and welcome to today's show. We're doing an All-Ireland final preview with myself, Shane Stapleton, joined as ever by Kieran Carey and Carey Power. Now we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the injury situations in, I suppose Limerick more so than anything else, but we'll be doing that in a little bit of time. But first off, Carey Power, Colin Banner has been relieved of his duties. That's what the statement has said from Tipperary. I'll just read out the statement. It says, the management committee of Tipperary GAA met last night to discuss the 2022 senior hurling season. Following a very comprehensive review, the management committee have made the decision to relieve Colin Banner from his duties as Tip hurling manager. And wish him, thank him and wish him the best. So this is just not long after Tommy Dunn and Paul Curran decided to step aside as well. Is this a surprise? Do you think this is, after the season Tipperary had, do you think this is a shock?
I suppose, look, when I saw that Paul Curran and Tommy Dunn had stepped aside, Shane, I think it was inevitable that this announcement was coming. Is it a shock? Absolutely. I think it's very, very unfortunate and very, very unfair on Colin. He went into a position where, he was, I suppose it was a rebuild job that was needed in Tipperary, and it was never going to be done in 12 months. And for that reason, I think it's very, very, unfair on Colin. I think the damage was done within the Tipperary camp and the Tipperary setup over the past couple of years, where there was no new faces or no new bodies introduced into the setup. So I think the problem lies with, people that have gone before Colin Banner, and unfortunately Colin is the one now that's, I suppose, been sacrificed for that reason.
Yeah. Kieran, your own thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. When Tommy and Paul walked, it was inevitable what was coming down the tracks. I didn't see it happen that quick. And I suppose your modern inter-county manager now, I suppose, has to fit a certain bill, so you can just slot into a particular process. And obviously Colin Banner, I'd say, is a big part of his own man. And no different to Richie. I certainly wouldn't be fooled and looking at the Tipperary hurling situation where it's at now. And could have done a bit of a job, and no different to Rich, who's gone before him, also need to take a nice shoulder of the blame.
Yeah, so where to next, do you think, for Tipperary? There's all this mood music around Waterford that maybe Liam Cahill might be departing. There's obviously the likes of Brendan Cummins, who's done well with the under-20s, James Woodlock, you've Dara Egan and Darren Gleeson, who are with other counties at the moment. Richie, what do you see happening?
It's a tricky one, Again, is Liam Cahill going to be willing to go into a setup that where things are at the moment? Given that Colin Banner was promised a 3-year term and suddenly relieved after one, I'm not so sure. I think he's some unfinished business with Waterford, and I think he'll be in charge of Waterford next year. Obviously, I think Brendan Cummins has been mentioned. I heard, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that James Woodlock is one of the front runners for the job, and that he has a good team already built up or set up behind him to go into the job. So maybe that's the route that they're going. But you're going with a very inexperienced guy. I know he's a tip man, but I suppose he's done a great job with the minors, absolutely. But it's a huge step up from minor management into the cauldron of senior management, especially where Tipperary are at the moment, because there's no point sugarcoating it. They are in a rebuild. Tipperary aren't going to turn this around in 12 months or 24 months. There has to be a bit of leeway given to whoever goes in next, and given the time frame to build for the future. And it's going to be interesting to see, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of speculation over the coming days and weeks.
Yeah, there's a couple of comments in here already. You can leave Cahill alone. We have him for another year. You hear me? That's obviously a Waterford supporter there, and Sean O'Sullivan. GAA Show podcast thought Banner deserved another year. Showed he can put it up to the big teams. Played well for 60 minutes against Limerick. Traumspieler, Liam Sheedy blooded a heap of young lads, albeit he didn't start them. He got them minutes, and they won an All-Ireland on the field of play. For example, Keogh, Connors and Morris, to name three. Ian Donovan, that's harsh on Banner. Look at the amount of bad luck that befell him. There were lots of injuries, Kieran. I get that. And there was an element of players retiring and so on and so forth. But at the end of the season, I'm there as a Tipperary supporter as much as anything else, and I'm wondering, what direction is the team going here? I couldn't see what they were trying to do. Earlier on in the year, I thought, okay, they're trying to work the ball through the hand, do the modern stuff. but that seemed to be abandoned, and it finished up not really having a clue what they were trying to do. So that's why I'm not overly shocked at this.
No, I wouldn't be overly shocked, but like I'll go back to what I touched on a while ago. And okay, like when you win a few matches, especially when you win in All Ireland, as Tipperary did in 2019, you know that papers over all the kind of defects or cracks that might have been there. And you know, for me looking at it, you know, and Liam Sheedy was involved with Tipperary on two occasions, and you know, he just appeared to be looking in it from the cold to kind of be a different type of a manager this time around for whatever reason. And I suppose that was highlighted on the line on various matches. And I suppose, want of a better word, a bit of showboating. And you know, he was never engaged in that type of stuff. So I don't know. I suppose to give it accurately, you need to be very close. But from the outset looking in, you know, you can tell an awful lot from a team and a particular manager, their body language on the line and on the field. And, you know, for me, okay, this year it highlighted itself hugely, but I see a lot of cracks within the last few years as well. They were highlighting themselves, you know, and usually then when there's managers up to be appointed, you get a load of names bantered around. Obviously, Liam Cahill would be the obvious one. But myself personally, if I didn't have to do with the Tipperary County Board, you know, where they're at, as Richie said, they're rebuilding. And I would be looking for, I'd be thinking outside the box. I'd probably go back to the tried and tested. And if I had anything got to do with the Tipperary County Board, I'd be heading to Nick English for this position. And, you know, to steer the ship and get it back in order. That'd be my own take.
But like surely we're in a different era now, Richie. Like, you know, you need them to embrace the modern, and you also need someone who's got a track record of doing it very recently to feel like you can move into that 21st century hurling.
Well, look, that's it, and I think we saw that with the under-20s under Brendan Cummins, and obviously with the minors under Woodlock. So I can really understand why those two names are the ones being touted. But obviously I kind of agree with Kieran as well. Like Tipperary are, you know, they're in a position now where the next probably 2 to 3 years are crucial, where this Tipperary team go and where the county board goes. So this appointment has to be right. It has to be right for Tipperary. It has to be right for the younger guys coming through. And that might mean the end of some of the older guys, you know, involvement and their careers. But as I said, they're in a position now where they need to get it right, because I suppose with the season they had, you know, and the lack of success that they're having, probably I know they won the minor All Ireland, that's fine, but I think, you know, the supporters of Tipperary are used to Tipperary being in All Ireland finals and All Ireland semi-finals, and that's where they need to get back to. And that's where I see the disappointment being probably the most crucial appointment they've made in the past probably decade or more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Shane,
yeah.
I need to come back there to clarify the 21st century hurling and all the names that you bantered out there. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think any of them actually have managed anyone to any provincial title. And I suppose where I'm coming from, really, and I know where you're coming from with Nicholas English, but if you had Nicholas English and Padraig Maher together or something like that, then you have a fair combination there. And the reason I kind of picked him, really, you know, because he has been tried, he has been tested, he has been successful with Tipperary on 2 occasions. Okay, is he gone from managerial a few years? Yes. But does that tell him that he wouldn't have the ability to manage a 2022 Tipperary County team? Where I'd say yes, you might probably differ slightly.
Yeah, and do you know what? I was going to ask you, Richie, then another thing. So these players that won the All-Ireland under 20 and 21 in 2018 and 19, because they haven't seen the amount of game time that you probably need as a player who's 19, 20, 21, you miss out on that development. Do you think it's getting to the stage where it might have nearly passed some of those players by, or can they still, you know, fulfill their potential?
Like, look, I don't know what went on behind, you know, closed doors or in the background, Shane. I don't know where those panels kept together and put on a development program, an S&C program. Possibly not. And yeah, you're right, because, like, you know, from the age of probably 19 to 22, 23 is where you get a lot of your development and a lot of your S&C strength and conditioning done. So if those players have missed out on that and are then called in probably next year, and it's probably a 2 to 3 year process. You see that with Limerick, you see that with the Kilkenny team this year under new S&C coach. You know, we're starting to see the fruits of the line, and yeah, I think that could be an issue and it could be a problem. But again, it all stems back to the county board and what they put in place. So, you know, a lot of blame can be put on Colin Banner, you know, and maybe some people were looking for his head, but you know, it stops with the county board and the setup they have underage and how they manage those guys after, as you said, after winning an under-21 All Ireland. That group of players has to be kept together. You know, they have to be given a program. They have to be brought forward. Yeah, okay, at 20 years of age, they mightn't be up to it, but give them 22, 23 after 3 years of S&C. Well, then they're ready for senior inter-county hurling. But if they've missed out on those 2 to 3 years, as I said, now you're looking at another 2 to 3 year process of getting those players ready. And they're going to be, you know, hitting 26.
Yeah. One final thing on this, Kieran. There seems to be plenty of people taking issue with the wording of the statement that came out, made the decision to relieve Colin Banner from his duties. Would you have any issue with how that's been phrased?
Yeah, but you see, you know, and it's a bit like last week that we were talking about, you know, on social media, and if it was done clean in the background, then Colin Banner probably might run with it. Yeah, but you know, I probably would actually, because it's had he any, obviously you'd have to have an issue with it, the way it was worded.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a small bit of an issue with the connection from my end there. If you want to see the rest of the show, go to patreon.com/OurGame. We'll be doing tactics, board matchups, the whole lot, and getting the two lads' insights, and obviously talking about the injury situation in Limerick. For more exclusive content, go to patreon.com/OurGame.